Welcome. You've arrived at a quiet place. There is nothing you need to do right now. Nothing you need to solve. Nothing you need to carry. This is a gentle myth told slowly, meant to soften the day and allow the night to take its time. If you are lying down, let your body rest into the surface beneath you. If your eyes are open, they may close whenever they wish. Take a slow breath in and let it out gently. You don't need to control your breathing. Just notice it. A lighthouse keeper on a quiet coast. Extended sleep story. The coast was quiet in the way it only becomes after night has fully arrived, when the ocean lowers its voice and the wind forgets the urge to impress. Waves move toward the shore without urgency, rolling in and retreating again as if guided by an ancient agreement. The sound they made was steady and low, a rhythm older than memory. At the edge of the cliff stood the lighthouse. It rose from the rock like something that had grown there naturally, shaped by salt air and years of patient weather. Its walls bore the soft marks of time, neither worn nor new, simply present. Inside lived Elias, the lighthouse keeper, who had long since learned to move at the pace of the sea rather than the clock. Elias had arrived at the lighthouse many years ago, carrying little more than a suitcase and a quiet hope for something slower. He had not come to escape life, only to meet it differently. The coast offered that without question. It asked nothing and gave space in return. As evening deepened into night, Elias climbed the spiral stairs inside the tower. His steps were steady, familiar. The lighthouse seemed to recognize him, its narrow walls holding the warmth of the day, its air carrying a soft mix of oil, stone, and sea salt. He reached the lantern room and checked the light, not because he doubted it, but because care was part of the ritual. The lamp glowed warmly, strong and calm, its beam reaching out across the dark water. Elias stepped onto the balcony and looked out at the ocean. The horizon was barely visible, a gentle blending of sky and sea. Somewhere far beyond that line, ships moved quietly through the night, guided by the turning light. Elias did not need to see them clearly to feel connected to them. The knowledge that the light mattered was enough. The wind moved past him softly, carrying the scent of water and distant rain. Elias rested his hands on the railing and breathed deeply. Each breath felt fuller here, as though the air itself had learned patience from the ocean. He stayed there for a long moment, watching the beam sweep across the waves. One turn, then another. Always the same. Always steady. The lighthouse never hurried. Inside, Elias's living space was simple and uncluttered. A small table near the window. A chair worn smooth by years of quiet sitting. Shelves holding books he read slowly, sometimes returning to the same page night after night. Stories unfolded differently when there was no rush to finish them. He brewed a cup of tea and sat by the window, listening to the sea speak in its low, continuous voice. The sound wrapped gently around the base of the tower, rising and falling like breath. Elias found comfort in that rhythm. It reminded him that nothing here demanded urgency. Hours passed without announcement. The tide shifted almost imperceptibly. The moon climbed higher, casting a pale path across the water. Stars appeared, scattered calmly across the sky, each one holding its place without effort. Elias thought about the first nights he had spent here, how unfamiliar the silence had seemed at first. He remembered listening too closely, waiting for something to happen. Over time, he had learned that this kind of quiet did not signal absence. It signaled balance. Solitude had not made him lonely. It had allowed him to hear himself again. Sometimes, as he sat watching the light turn, memories drifted in gently. Not sharply, not demanding attention, just passing through. He remembered early mornings in the city, streets already loud, the feeling of being pulled forward before he had fully woken. He remembered crowded rooms and conversations that asked more energy than he had to give. The coast had given him something different. Here, he could exist without explaining himself. The lighthouse did not care how quiet he was. The ocean did not expect conversation. The night welcomed him exactly as he was. Later, Elias made another round, checking the lamp again. The light remained steady, as it always did. He placed his hand briefly against the metal housing, feeling its gentle warmth. It was a small gesture, a quiet acknowledgement between keeper and tower. Outside, a faint fog began to roll in, softening the edges of the world. The beam of light cut through it calmly, a slow, reliable arc. Elias watched the fog drift and thin again, like thoughts dissolving before they could fully form. The lighthouse had seen many such nights. Storms that arrived suddenly and left just as quietly. Calm evenings like this one, where the greatest movement was the turning of the light and the breathing of the sea. Elias returned to his chair and sat with his eyes half closed, letting the sounds of the coast fill the space around him. The lighthouse creaked softly, settling into the night. The wind brushed against the glass. The ocean continued its endless conversation with the shore. Time stretched. There was no need to mark it. Somewhere beyond the fog, a ship passed safely, its crew unaware of the man who tended the light that guided them. Elias preferred it that way. He found meaning in being useful without being seen, in offering safety quietly and consistently. As the night deepened, his thoughts grew softer, wider, less defined. He felt the pleasant heaviness that arrived when the body realized it was safe to rest. The chair supported him. The tower held steady. The coast kept watch. The lighthouse did not sleep, but Elias allowed himself to rest. He closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the waves below, each one arriving exactly when it needed to. The beam continued its slow turning above him, faithful and calm. There was nothing left to do. The ocean moved. The light turned. The night held everything gently in place. And on that quiet coast, Beneath a sky full of patient stars, the lighthouse keeper rested, knowing the world would find its way safely through the dark. As the night moved forward, the fog thickened slightly, not enough to hide the world, only enough to soften it. The beam of the lighthouse passed through it again and again, patient and unchanged, as though it had always known how to move through uncertainty without resistance. Elias watched this for a long time, finding comfort in how little effort the light required to remain steady. He remembered the first winter he had spent here, when storms rolled in from the open sea and tested the strength of the tower. The wind had howled then, waves striking the rocks below with force, the world restless and loud. Even on those nights, the lighthouse had not panicked. It had stood firm, its light cutting through rain and darkness, doing exactly what it was meant to do. Elias had learned from that. Not everything required reaction. Some things only required presence. Tonight, there was no storm. Only the quiet movement of water and air, working together in a rhythm that felt endlessly familiar. Elias allowed himself to sink deeper into the chair, his body relaxing fully now. He noticed the way the lighthouse sounded at this hour, the soft creak of wood, the faint hum of the lamp, the subtle settling of stone. These were not noises to stay alert for. They were reassurance. Outside, the tide continued its slow shift, drawing the water back slightly before sending it forward again. The moon's reflection stretched and narrowed across the surface of the sea, never quite the same shape twice, yet always recognizable. Elias found himself watching it without thinking, the way one watches a fire or drifting clouds. From time to time, he stood and walked the small circle of the lantern room, stretching his legs, letting movement remain gentle. He liked how the lighthouse encouraged this kind of motion, unhurried, unforced, guided by need rather than schedule. There was no bell to signal the hour. No voice asking him to check the time. The night unfolded on its own terms. Elias thought about the ships that would pass before morning. Cargo vessels, fishing boats, perhaps a lone sailboat moving slowly under starlight. He imagined their quiet decks, the low conversations, the shared understanding among those awake at sea. None of them knew his name, and he knew none of theirs, yet they were connected by the same steady light. That connection felt gentle and sufficient. The fog thinned again, drifting away from the cliff, revealing more of the dark water below. Elias stepped back onto the balcony, wrapping his jacket a little closer around himself. The air was cool but not cold, carrying the clean scent of salt and night. He closed his eyes briefly and listened, letting the ocean fill his awareness completely. This was what he valued most about the coast. It did not crowd his thoughts. It widened them. He remembered evenings long ago when silence had felt uncomfortable, when he filled it quickly with sound or distraction. The lighthouse had taught him otherwise. Silence here was not empty. It was full of small movements, subtle changes, quiet life continuing without commentary. Elias returned inside and poured himself another cup of tea, moving carefully so as not to disturb the calm he felt. He sat again, hands warm around the mug, and watched the light's reflection slide slowly across the glass. Each pass felt like a reminder that some things could be relied upon completely. As the hours slipped toward the early morning, Elias felt sleep approach in the gentle way it always did here. Not sudden, not overwhelming, but gradual, like the tide easing its way toward shore. He allowed his eyes to close for longer moments now, opening them occasionally to check the light, though he knew it would still be turning, still steady. The lighthouse had carried him through many nights like this. Nights where nothing remarkable happened, and yet everything felt quietly meaningful. The coast did not require stories or milestones. It offered continuity instead. Somewhere far out at sea, a ship's horn sounded faintly, low and distant, then faded back into the night. Elias listened until the sound dissolved completely. The lighthouse answered in its own way, with light rather than sound, offering guidance without announcement. He rested his head back and breathed slowly, deeply, letting the chair and the tower support him. The ocean moved. The light turned. The sky remained open and vast above it all. There was no boundary between waking and resting now, only a gentle blending of the two. Elias drifted comfortably within that space, knowing the lighthouse would continue its watch whether his eyes were open or closed. The coast remained quiet. The night remained kind. And the light continued to guide the unseen world safely onward. As the night thinned toward morning, the darkness did not disappear all at once. It softened first, loosening its edges, allowing the horizon to become just slightly more defined. Elias noticed this without lifting his head, sensing the change the way one senses a shift in breathing. The ocean altered its tone almost imperceptibly. The waves sounded the same, yet lighter, as though they, too, were aware that the long night was nearly complete. The beam of the lighthouse continued its steady turning, still necessary, still patient, even as the sky began to change. Far to the east, a faint line appeared where sea met sky. It was not yet light, only the suggestion of it, a quiet promise rather than an announcement. Elias opened his eyes fully now and stepped onto the balcony once more. The air felt different at this hour, cooler, clearer, touched with the freshness that belonged only to early morning. The fog that had drifted through the night had thinned almost entirely, leaving the water open and calm beneath the slowly fading stars. Elias rested his hands on the railing and watched as color returned to the world in careful layers. Deep blue softened into pale gray. Gray warmed into a gentle silver. Nothing rushed. The coast accepted the morning the same way it accepted the night. The lighthouse light continued its work, sweeping across the water, though its beam no longer stood alone. The growing light of day slowly joined it, blending rather than replacing it. Elias liked that moment best, when night and morning overlapped, neither fully in control. Somewhere below, near the rocks at the base of the cliff, the water shifted again with the changing tide. The ocean had been moving all night, but now it seemed to stretch, as if waking from rest rather than sleep. The first seabird appeared quietly, gliding low over the water. Then another. Their calls were soft at first, tentative, as though they were testing the morning before fully entering it. Elias listened as the sound carried upward, light and unhurried. He smiled faintly, a small, private gesture. The birds always arrived before the sun did. As the sky brightened further, more seabirds joined them, circling gently, settling briefly on the rocks, lifting again without alarm. Their presence did not break the calm. It completed it. The coast felt alive in a different way now, not louder, just awake. Elias moved inside to begin the small rituals of morning. He lowered the intensity of the lamp carefully, preparing the lighthouse for daylight. The light had done its work through the long hours of darkness. It could rest now, just as he had. Inside the tower, the rooms felt brighter without effort. The window glass caught the early light and reflected it softly across the floor. Elias prepared a simple breakfast, moving slowly, listening to the distant calls of birds and the steady hush of the sea. There was no sudden transition between night and day here. The coast allowed both to exist together for a while. When Elias returned outside, the sun had begun its slow rise above the horizon. It did not blaze or demand attention. It lifted gently, spreading warmth across the water, touching the lighthouse walls with a soft glow. The beam of the lighthouse faded completely now, no longer needed. Elias watched as it disappeared into the growing brightness, content in the knowledge that it would return again when night asked for it. The seabirds grew bolder as the light strengthened, their calls more frequent now, though still calm. They moved easily between air and water, unconcerned with time, guided by instincts older than the tower itself. Elias took a deep breath and felt the quiet satisfaction of a night completed. Nothing dramatic had happened. Nothing needed fixing. The world had moved as it always did, steady and reliable. Soon, the coast would begin to stir in small ways. A distant boat engine might hum to life. A fisherman might appear along the shore. The day would find its rhythm, just as the night had. But for now, the morning remained gentle. Elias stood quietly as the sun rose higher, the lighthouse behind him, the ocean before him, and the sky opening wide above it all. He felt rested, not because he had slept deeply, but because he had been held by the steady presence of the place he called home. The night released its hold completely at last. The coast breathed in the new day. And the lighthouse keeper, calm and unhurried, welcomed the morning as he always did, without rushing it, without asking for more than it offered, content to remain exactly where he was. As the night grows still, remember this: rest is part of growth. Silence is part of wisdom. Sleep peacefully. The earth is listening. As the night grows quiet and the story comes to rest, we're glad you spent this moment with us. If these gentle stories help you relax or make bedtime feel calmer, you're always welcome to return. You can subscribe to Bedtime Stories to find more peaceful nights like this one. And if you enjoyed tonight's story, A simple like helps us share it with others. Sleep well. We'll be here when the night needs a story. Good night.